From your car brand to even the way you drive. I'll be going over 9 different things to determine what your car says about you. Starting with drivers who piss me off. We all get angry at other drivers on the road, whether it's just a little bit or a lot. Today, I just want to talk about some of the drivers that piss me off so badly. So badly. Bad drivers never miss the exit. For some reason, some people think it's more important to get off at the correct exit instead of living. They will risk their lives not to miss the exit. I've never been able to wrap my head around this. Either you miss it and you're 5 minutes late, you manage to make the turn and you're there on time, or you hit the divider and you kill yourself and possibly other people. Then you will never be there. So yeah, what? Just miss the exit if it's risky. It's not that big of a deal. My girlfriend, somehow this
beautiful woman
always manages to accidentally go through multiple drive-through coffee stands, accidentally drive up to Target, and spends 2 hours there instead of going grocery shopping. But she always manages to get to work on time due to optional school zone speed limit suggestions. If you manage to look past all the random tote bags and interesting decoration choices, her car is pretty comfortable and she's a good driver. High schoolers. Okay, this might be a lot of you, unfortunately. You are not baby driver. You just got your license. Please learn how to drive before you start going 80 miles an hour in a fucking 25 mile an hour zone, please. I don't want to die during my regular commute because of a high schooler who thinks they're the baby driver. Also, your car cannot handle all of that. Most high schoolers have whatever they can get as a first car. Any car is a great first car, so it's most likely not built for autocross, and you should not drive it that way. Old people, really old people. If you're old and driving, that's great. I'm happy for you. And you guys are usually the safest people on the road. But it gets to a point. If I'm behind someone who's going 5 miles an hour on the freeway,
I will not feel safe.
If you can't comfortably walk or take a shit on your own, I feel like you're better off not driving. I know you most likely have the cognitive ability to remember how to drive most of the time, but there is not a chance that you have the same reaction time that you had 50 years ago. So you end up driving slow or getting into an accident. So all the old people watching this, please be careful out there. Base model BMW drivers. While I am someone who owns a base model BMW, I'm talking about something more specific. It's more of a mindset. Being a base model BMW driver doesn't mean you actually drive a base model BMW. It means you drive your car like it's a supercar, but it's regular traffic. Base model BMWs are far from bad cars, but they are not that fast, and you have no reason to be driving them that fast. I feel like I see more M3s going the speed limit than 328i's. You definitely need therapy if you're a base model BMW crash out. Bikers. Get off of the road! I can't tell you the number of times that I've been on a back road at night. I turn a corner and then boom, biker. These entitled vegan assholes are always in the most inconvenient spots. I love biking. I'm personally a mountain biker, but stay off of the road, really. It's fine if you're in a city with good bike lanes that don't intersect with traffic too much. It's fine if you live in the middle of nowhere. And it's fine if you're from the Netherlands. But otherwise, just try not to touch pavement with your bike. I don't know. The multitaskers. You are not about that. Multitasking is not real. Just look at the road, please. Not your phone, not your passenger, just the road, please. I used to have this coworker that would literally look at his phone the entire time he was driving. Like he would have the game propped up on his dashboard while we were going down the I-5 and he'd just be staring at it. I would have to give him call outs like we were playing Rainbow Six Siege or something, like, dude, stop sign. Or like, grandma holding a baby right in fucking front of you. And even though he's looking at his phone the whole time, he would still get the directions wrong. Anyway, yeah, distracted driving is bad and it pisses me off. The average male New Yorker is super annoying to me. They always have somewhere to be. So they could be in a 60 mile an hour zone, a 35 mile an hour zone, or even a 5 mile an hour school zone. These guys will still manage to cruise at 80 miles an hour minimum. There is no way you have to be somewhere so badly and that urgently. These guys always camp in the left lane until it's their time to strike. As soon as they see an innocent family of 5 carefully driving to soccer practice, they make sure to cut them off just to make their trip a few seconds faster. I don't know why, but these dudes are always listening to the worst music too.
I'm not worried about your man, he's a cheeseburger.
And don't get me started on what happens when they see police lights. They do not pull over. They just take off and put more people in danger. The police have pretty much just given up. If you drive like this, I don't like you. People with bumper stickers also are super annoying to me. I feel like bumper stickers are usually just rage bait, especially political ones. Do you think someone is gonna see your bumper sticker and then actually change their political opinion? No! They're just gonna get fucking pissed off. Also, those little family stickers make make me want to rear end the car even more. You know what's worse? Bumper stickers that are trying to make you seem like a good person, like
I support my local co-op.
or some bullshit. You're not fucking better than me. Road ragers. I know this whole video has sounded like road raging, but the people who actually start tweaking out on the road are ridiculous to me. I've never understood how you can actually get that angry while driving. Enough to like actually crash your car into someone and blow up just to prove a point. The only time you should be stepping out of your car is to give someone your like insurance information. But when someone gets cut off and then they get out and start fighting, there's no reason to be fighting. Like, what the hell? It's also super weird to me when someone's like swerving behind me because I'm going the speed limit. Chill. Let me go 20 in a school zone. Shiesty dudes. If you're really about that life, I'll steer clear. I'm not talking about those dudes. But the people who think they have ops, wearing a shiesty in the car, driving around with the driver's seat all the way back, and basically putting black paint on the windows as tint, these dudes piss me off. All of that work to stay anonymous, and then they have a straight piped car. I can hear you across the state. Also, they cannot cut up. These drivers are surprisingly acid driving. They're usually unlicensed too. People like this were probably born in a gated community and just want to look like they have a lot going on in their lives. People who can't use a ratchet strap. Not knowing how to use a ratchet strap pisses me off in the first place, but not knowing how to use one when you're actually hauling something is when it becomes a problem. I hate seeing people have stuff flying out of their truck beds or looking like it's gonna fall out because they don't know how to secure things. I never drive behind these people because I might become a pancake at any second. Even if it's just lawn clippings flying into my windshield, it's super annoying. The bitch ass semi-truck driver duos edition. This one pisses me off the most. Picture this. Two semi-truck drivers are driving in a line. Then the one in the back has the wise idea to pass the other one. So they get into the fast lane. This isn't a problem yet. They're in the fast lane. It's okay. But then they start passing and then they just sit right next to the other truck. Doing this just trolls the whole rest of the fucking freeway. They're probably talking on the radio like,
You really got him with this one, Chuck.
Yeah, that's right, Falcon. Needed some fun in my life since I've been driving for 6 years straight.
fuck you! This shit pisses me off so much. Now I'm late to work so that Kroger can receive their Lay's chips shipment about 5 seconds earlier. Subwoofers. Hear me out. Please hear me out. I have a pretty crazy sounding 12 in my wagon, and I listen to it on full blast in the back roads and on my way to the gym. It's enough bass to shake the trunk open. But it's just awkward to me when people have their music absolutely blaring with the windows down in a grocery store parking lot. It doesn't really piss me off, but it's just awkward because I'm like looking at them and they're looking at me and it's like just fucking weird.
Damn straight. That bitch play all day.
Harley riders are closeted. They're absolutely not comfortable with their sexual situation. So they decided to get a loud bike and a leather jacket with spikes on it to look more masculine. You know what? I couldn't care less. It's okay to wear weird leather jackets and stuff, but the shit that pisses me off is when you don't let someone pass you because you're on a Harley or something. These dudes have such weird egos. Also, how is there no middle ground with how these guys look? They're either really fat or they look like heroin addicts, so I don't know what that's about.
Your car brand stereotypes.
I feel like people act differently based on what they're driving. If they're driving something like a Ram 2500, they're probably feeling all blue collar and tough. If they're driving a BMW 5 Series, they're probably smirking behind the tinted windows and feeling like the Wolf of Wall Street. Some people buy cars from certain brands to show off who they are, and the brand you buy from says a lot about your personality, but it might not be exactly what you want. This is what your car brand says about you. Tesla. Toyota. Toyota is kind of ball knowledge. If you drive a Toyota, you just know who you are and what you're worth. Your time and money is better spent on a Toyota than in some fake luxury car. You know that with a Toyota, you can get wherever you need to go instead of waiting for AAA on the side of the road with a BMW. Also, Toyota makes some of the best cars. The 4Runner, the Tacoma, the GRs. Toyota makes some great cars. Subaru.
Subaru.
In my opinion, if you drive any older Subaru, you're 100% based. The older Outback, Legacy, and even the WRXs were all better than they are now. The new ones are just too messed up. Like the newer Outback is just pretty boring besides the dude from my Discord server. They have CVT transmissions, they're really big, and the engines usually aren't that powerful. The old ones were obviously slower, but they would come with manual transmissions, they were way smaller, and they were just cooler in my opinion. Same goes for the Forester and many other Subarus. If you drive a newer Subaru, you're slightly boring, besides the dude from my server of of course. And if you drive an older one and really go on some adventures with it, you're so cool. You probably have a golden retriever, vape a lot, and have colored hair. And you're at least a little bit gay, but that's okay because your car probably smells like raspberry and wet dog type of mix. Also, why are Subarus like the puppies of cars? I don't know. They just seem, I feel like that's just how they are. BMW. According to the Gassy Discord server, BMWs are the most overrated car brand. However, I'd like to argue that there's a few sides to BMW. If you have a G80 or something, you're probably just a drop shipper under the age of 20, or your parents bought it for you. You only got this because you saw everybody on TikTok had them. You have no idea what it actually is. You don't have a love for BMW or anything to do with cars. You just like people looking at you. Older BMWs are a different perspective. The 2002, the E24, and other similar ones offer a very engaging and very fun driving experience. They're definitely enthusiast cars. If you don't drive your BMW for the badge and instead drive it for what it's meant to be, you're a BMW baller. If you have a BMW SUV, you're the absolute best taxi that your friends could ever wish for. These cars are track hawk killers and super comfortable. I don't think most BMW SUVs hold true to BMW's core values, but they're definitely a very cool daily option. Hyundai and Kia. If you drive a Kia or a Hyundai, you're very ethical and it pisses me off. They're very cheap cars, somewhat reliable, and generally pretty boring. If you manage to own one of these for more than a week without it getting stolen, and these cars are reasonable for commuting, honestly, I'd suggest you just leave it downtown with a USB stick next to it, let it get stolen, and let that insurance money hit. You're probably not going to care about that piece of shit anyway. I get if you have a Kia Stinger or a Hyundai N thingy, then it's pretty cool, but I don't know if Hyundai or Kia are ever going to outrun their pasts. These cars are just kind of boring. Also, what the hell is up with Kia Souls just being the most dangerous cars on the road? People who are driving Kia Souls are always causing some kind of fatal accident for no reason at all. Also, those cars look butt ugly. There's so many other options before getting a fucking Kia Soul. If you want a cube like that, you should get like a Ford Flex or one of those cube cars. Anything but a Soul. Those things are so ugly. Lexus. If you're driving an older Lexus, you're kind of like a luxury Asian core. I feel like you're super luxury and super Asian. Lexus is such a great brand. Reliable, quick, comfortable. The only thing that keeps me from getting one is that they're hard to find with a manual transmission most of the time. It's literally owned by Toyota, so they always make great cars. If you drive a Lexus, you're probably more into the comfort of driving than the sport. Mercedes. If you drive a Mercedes, you're either rich or coping for not being rich. But to be fair, their base model cars are pretty nice too, so I don't blame you for getting one. People who drive a Mercedes are cool. They're real life mob bosses. Fun fact, everybody who owns a Mercedes has a Tommy gun in their trunk, cannoli between two fingers, and a cool gangster hat. Also, Mercedes made that one ad with the dude spinning tires at the stop sign, which was super badass, so yeah. If you drive a Mercedes, you're cool. Ford. If you drive a Ford, you are a man. Even if you're not actually a man, you're definitely a man. Ford is every dude's basic necessity. Whether it's a Ford Ranger, an F-150, a Mustang, or a Focus ST, these cars are dude cars. Well, maybe not the lame Ford Focus or any of those weird ones, but for the most part, Ford is a basic necessity for dudes. If you drive a Ford, something reasonable and cool, then you're awesome. If you drive like a Ford F650 for no reason at all, you should probably sell it and get a Prius. Lamborghini. All right, I hate to admit it, you're pretty loaded. If you're in the financial situation to drop a couple hundred racks on a car, you're definitely loaded. But do you know cars? There's so many Lamborghini owners that buy the car just for the status symbol, and it's kind of sad. Yes, they're really cool cars, and maybe I'm just jealous, but I would personally spend my money on a car from a different brand if I had the opportunity. If you drive a Honda or an Acura, you drove a car from a very good company. I wish they made more rear-wheel drive cars, but they still make good ones. The S2K is a great choice, of course, and then the Civic Type R, and if you want a little bit of Honda ball knowledge, the 2000 CR-V is super dope. It comes with a table, which is definitely a plus. If you drive a Honda or an Acura, you really like cars, and you wanted to buy something less expensive so you can build it up and make it awesome. Chevy dudes kind of remind me of Mater. Why did so many cool car brands have to become boring and safe? Nissan is a prime example. We went from the 180SX, the 240SX, and now we have this bullshit. I'm not saying Altima drivers are safe by any means. Their new crap is just more boring than their old crap. Safety should definitely come second with cars in my opinion. If you drive a newer Nissan, you're a level level up from the Kias and Hyundais. If it's an old one, not Datsun old, but just a bit older, then you're really cool. Wait, I almost forgot about the Zs. The 350Z doesn't look amazing in my opinion, but it's a good car for drifting. You literally just need to weld the diff and then you're good to go. So Nissan, you're cool, I guess. Mini drivers are definitely bold. These cars are cooler than you'd think though. I personally don't love the way they look, but holy shit, are they fun to drive. These things stick to the ground. They come with a 6-speed manual transmission and usually have a reasonably cool engine. My Mini Cooper is the R53, so it comes with a supercharged 4-cylinder engine, which is really fun. They can look somewhat cool, but honestly, I'd just say you need a good amount of self-esteem if you're gonna drive one of these. Saab is ball knowledge. These things can get down. If you drive a Saab, I feel like you're a bit mysterious and you can actually drive that thing for what it's worth. It was a Swedish brand born out of an airplane brand. They're just about as safe as Volvos. I don't know why Swedish people are so good at making safe cars, but keep it up, I guess. If you drive a Saab, you definitely listen to indie rock music and you're very particular about coffee. Fiat is Ferrari's deformed dwarf runt half-brother. Basically, their only connection is that they're both Italian. Fiats are kind of like the Italian Mini Coopers in the way that they just stick to the ground. I would never bring one of these cars to a drag strip, but they're very ideal canyon carvers. Volvo, peak human ever. Volvo owners are the absolute best. Owning a sleeper Volvo is possibly the most humble thing you can do. Volvos can do everything and they're super safe too. Have you ever met an asshole Volvo owner? Me neither. They're always the best. The V70R and the S60R are awesome, of course, and the Volvo 240 can do anything. So yeah, keep it up, Volvo. If you own a Volvo, you're winning in life. Alfa Romeo. You're just like the BMW dudes, but with a hint of Italian. Actually, more than a hint of Italian. You're very Italian. Also, these cars are harder to fix than BMWs, so the car's either broken or you're just a really good mechanic. Mazdas are kind of sleepers. If you drive a Mazda, you're either a high schooler with a bit too much horsepower or you're a car guy and you know about Mazda's untapped potential. The Mazda Speed 6, for example, makes 275 horsepower stock. It's all-wheel drive and it can come with a 6-speed manual. They're also pretty reliable and they're reasonably priced too. Of course, Mazda also made the RX-7 and all those other cool cars that I don't want to talk about right now. Mazda drivers are either a little bit annoying or just chill dudes who like cars.
Your car mods that piss me off.
Some car mods just make sense, and others, these are the best and worst car mods. Starting off strong with aftermarket steering wheels, this mod is perfect if you're using your car on the track, or at least in a scenario where you're going to be running into things all the time. If you're going to use a steering wheel like this, it's good to have harnesses and other safety equipment now that you don't have airbags. That's why I think it's a little bit of a weird mod to do to your daily driver, because you're going to be daily driving with a helmet now. No more airbags. Oops. It's probably not going to feel great when you hydroplane into a guardrail and slam your head into that cheap Taiwanese replica steering wheel, which is probably made out of cardboard. While aftermarket steering wheels can look cool as crap when you buy the right one, they can also look quite silly. The respectable opinions of the fellow car meat enjoyers will probably not approve. 9 times out of 10, the stock steering wheel works just fine. But if you're convinced that you need the benefits from a proper aftermarket steering wheel, then it's definitely worth it. Don't cheap out, bud. Removing your AC. Have you ever wanted free and easy horsepower? Yippee! Well, removing your AC is probably the easiest way to gain a couple of ponies. But why? It's because your AC adds rotational drag to the engine, since it's usually powered by a belt from your crankshaft. After you remove it, your engine isn't sending any power to the stupid climate control. It's just all going straight to the wheel. Okay, I'll be honest, you're probably not going to notice a difference, but it still helps if you're trying to juice every last horse out of your engine. Also, the AC unit itself can weigh around like 30 to 45 pounds, so if you remove it, you're at least getting a little bit of weight reduction. That's like how much a toddler weighs, right? I will personally not be doing this mod though. During the hot summers, minutes will feel like hours when you're sitting in the car. You'll probably be roasted alive. If I'm sitting in the McDonald's drive-thru waiting for my Big Mac, I do not want to be feeling like a baked potato. Also, my Big Mac-sized passengers are guaranteed to be complaining. Removing your AC is really only for the strong and brave. For those who are chasing every last bit of performance from their car, I just wouldn't do it to my daily. Interior and exterior RGB lights. Do you want to stand out? Do you want everybody to look at your awesome race car? Do you want to be the lighthouse in the storm? Well, I have the perfect mod for you. Throw some lights on your car. If you have a riced out GT86 or a squatted GMC, this is the perfect mod for you. 90 times out of 100, I think light kits look a little bit funny, but I would be lying if I said that underglow couldn't look cool. I know I definitely felt some way when I watched Dom Toretto and his team pull up to the truck heist in Fast and Furious with their kitted out Civic rocking some sick green underglow. Like, it can be done, guys. It can look good. Is the outside not enough? Hop on the TikTok shop and grab some interior lights. Now you can see your feet while you drive. Nice. I think the Starlight headliners actually look pretty cool most of the time. They kind of look like a 2017 RGB keyboard, but I really like it. And it's totally fine if you're into that. You'll mostly see these mods in high schoolers' cars because car lights are like the gateway drug to car modding. Gutted interior. This mod is not for the weak. Do not do this to your car unless you're ready to go full race car mode. If you remove basically everything, the rear seats, passenger seat, carpet, sound deadening, headliner, door panel, center console, HVAC, and interior panels, you could expect to lose 150 to 350 pounds depending on your car, which is massive. But do you know what else is massive? The downsides to removing all of this. You will no longer be able to drive your friends around. You will need to drive with your music on full blast, since the vibrations from the road, engine, and even the transmission will be amplified tremendously. Since you have no sound deadening, literally every pebble you run over will be as loud as crap. If you're ready to face the psychological effects of this mod, then it's awesome. But if you don't want to dread driving your car every day, then this mod is not worth it. And now, one from my personal collection, bucket seats. Do you miss being hugged and loved? I have great news for you. The bucket seat is an amazing hugger, and it'll keep your ass from moving even an inch. Even if you're tumbling down a mountain, you will not budge if you're in a bucket seat. Why would you want this though? Bucket seats help you drive much better. Since you won't have to brace yourself while going through corners, you can focus on the road and the awesome stuff that you're doing instead. These seats are snug and cozy if you buy some nice ones, and will keep you super safe, although it might interfere with some fancy airbag systems. So far, this mod sounds like a no-brainer, right? Well, there's some drawbacks. Sometimes bucket seats can look very out of place. If your car is as slow as shit and you install bucket seats, it's kind of like wearing a Cuban link in the trenches. They're also super annoying to get in and out of, especially if you have a fat ass like myself. This is a drawback if you're trying to pick up tortas, but overall the bucket seat is a very solid mod with very small downsides. Aftermarket gauges. This is a super solid mod that is extremely useful. Whether you want to push your car to its absolute limits, or if you just want to keep things reliable, installing some aftermarket gauges to monitor your car is super helpful. You can see the oil temperature, water temperature, boost if your car is boosted, air fuel ratio, volts, and probably the most important gauge of all, oil pressure. Having these gauges installed will let you know if you're pushing your car too hard or if something is just wrong with it. Gauges can be a pain in the ass to install, especially if your brain works like mine. You need to hook up all these different wires and fuses, all while trying not to make a fire hazard. That being said, aftermarket gauges are 100% worth it. Definitely one of the best mods you can do to your car, even if it's your daily driver. Cold air intake. The cold air intake is another super easy mod that you can do to your car. I'm sure you've probably heard this 1,000 times before, but if you're doing a cold air intake mod, please route it to a spot that actually pulls in cold air. If you just plop that crap in the middle of your tiny engine bay, it's gonna make your car slow. So where should you put it? Try to route it behind a front bumper, behind a headlight, or even outside the hood if you're really cool. But sometimes it can be closer to the engine if you have a reasonable heat shield. Now, if you're not really chasing performance, you could just throw out the stock air box and then throw a cone intake on. You'll hear some really awesome engine noises. Also, if you want a cone intake and you have a turboed car, then it doesn't really matter as much where you put it, because the intercooler is probably going to cool the air for you, and you don't have to be as careful of like not letting that shit get hot. Overall, if you do it right, this is a good mod. It's kind of known to be like another gateway drug mod though.
Turbo in your engine.
Putting a turbo on your engine is an amazing mod for making more power, but it can also be extremely pricey and sometimes inefficient depending on how well your engine can handle boost. Some engines will blow up with just a few pounds of boost, and some engines will take that shit like a good boy. All you need to do is slap on a turbo with some supporting mods like an intercooler, fuel pump, and ECU, and then you're good to go. A great example of this is the 2JZ GE engines. The GE ones are the engines with no turbo from the factory, and they have larger intake ports, so people prefer to put a turbo on these because they're cheaper to buy up front and easier to make power with later. These engines are a great example because they can handle a lot of boost, but you have to do some good supporting mods. To bulletproof this engine, you're going to need some AR ERP head studs, and definitely a new head gasket. So should you turbo your car? Well, unless you're willing to do all the supporting mods to bulletproof your engine before putting a turbo on, probably not. The muffler delete. A high school student's favorite exhaust mod. This mod is like Anakin Skywalker turning to the dark side and killing all of the younglings. You're willing to sacrifice all of your social acceptance for the thrill of driving a loud-ass, fart-can-ass car. You might be considered a menace, but you don't care since you're just doing this mod for the pure enjoyment. This is probably the cheapest exhaust mod that you can do too. If you go full dark sight and straight pipe your car, you could actually feel a reasonable horsepower gain without a tune, especially if your car is boosted. Since turbos are driven by the exhaust, they would be pretty happy with a higher flowing exhaust system. You might also notice a difference with supercharged engines. While some cars will actually sound great with a muffler delete, other cars could sound like they're straight out of SpongeBob. Do some research. Maybe your engine sounds great with a muffler delete. Maybe not. If you're willing to put in the time and effort, try an aftermarket exhaust setup instead. Disclaimer: if you live in California and modify your exhaust, expect a visit from the FBI, ATF, CIA, and National Guard.
This is what your car suspension says about you.
If your car has stock suspension, you probably have a pretty comfortable ride, or at least it does what you need it to do from the factory. If you're doing some easier off-roading, but you don't need to do anything too crazy, then maybe the stock 4Runner suspension is enough for you. Or maybe you occasionally go drive your car through the back roads at legal speeds, and your stock Miata suspension handles the corners well enough for you. A good suspension setup can be pretty pricey, so I understand wanting to keep it stock. Cut springs. Speaking of pricey, cutting your springs is not pricey at all. I mean, maybe putting a bunch of rocks in your trunk would be cheaper, but cutting the springs is still very cheap. After you cut your springs, the car might look pretty good, but only for about an hour before it sags and becomes undrivable. If you cut your car's springs, you don't really give a shit about the car and you're just having fun.
Lifted.
Hell yeah, brother. Lifting your car or truck is cool, as long as you're doing it for a good reason. I think the only good reason to lift is for off-roading, not just for going to the store and back. Because when your car is higher up, so is your center of gravity. If you don't actually need the extra ground clearance, you're just trading your vehicle's handling for looks. If you have a lifted car for a good reason, then you're probably the type to go on awesome adventures. If you lifted your car for looks, then your wife's name might be Frank.
Hydraulics.
Hydraulics are fucking cool. I think bouncing cars are the most ridiculous, but also the most badass suspension setups that you can do. It's just so impractical for anything except listening to music. Putting hydraulics on your car became popular in the 60s because people wanted good-looking low cars, but they'd get harassed by the police. So they decided to add hydraulics to lift the car up and avoid tickets. But I suppose at some point it got taken a step further, and these cars jump now. So yeah, I don't really know how the fuck that happened. If you're running hydraulics, you're either a bit older and into the classic stuff, or you're just kind of funny.
Lowering spring.
Lowering springs can be the less expensive option for making your car just look lower, but still ride nicely. The slightly stiffer springs help you around the corners and feel a lot better than stock springs. I would recommend swapping out your stock shocks when you install lowering springs. If you have lowering springs, you probably just don't feel like spending coilover money. I think lowering springs are respectable, but I'd definitely go with coilovers if you can. Coilovers are a great option because with high quality ones, you can adjust so many things on them. People don't just get coilovers to adjust the ride height. You can adjust things like the camber, caster, toe, preload, damping, corner weight, anti-roll, and sometimes other things. They're very amazing. Sometimes coilovers can make the ride a bit too bumpy for some people, but they make cornering and everything else just that much better. Coilovers can be used for almost any driving setup. Track, drag, rally, precision, hill climb, drifting, and basically anything else. But make sure to get good ones. You're better off getting nice lowering springs than cheap coilovers. Reasonable coilovers can start at around $800. That even is still kind of cheap for coilovers. You're going to want to set aside about $1,500 for a nice set of coilovers. Bilstein is a great brand. BC Racing is pretty great too, but something like the $300 Max Speeding Rods coilovers are far from ideal. Coilovers are kind of an all or nothing type of deal, so in my opinion, if you run good coilovers on your car, you're pretty set on making this thing handle like a go-kart. If you're running cheap coilovers, then all I can do for you is pray. Bags. Bags are for the fitment boys. They sound fucking awesome when you air them out. And they always look good when you're parked. They can make for a pretty smooth ride too, but they're just not quite as good as coilovers for handling. They're also super expensive, so if you're running bags, then you might be kind of rich. Also, bags aren't the easiest to install, so you either have the capital to pay for the labor, or you have a brain that works. Slammed, stanced, or static cars are interesting to me. I think excessive camber is pretty stupid, because to me it doesn't look great, and it wears out your tires very fast. But I know the people who are driving these cars are having a lot of fun, so I envy that at least. If your car is stanced, you're just having fun, don't really care how your car performs as long as it looks good. Static cars have no suspension. They look super funny to me because they're always bouncing around on the tires. They're just like slammed or stanced cars. You're only doing it for the fun of it. Also, these cars have super stretched tires for some reason. Sway bars! Most cars have sway bars from the factory, but you can buy sport ones that stiffen up your car a lot. They don't change the up and down suspension, just your car's body roll. Sporty sway bars are a game changer for taking corners and canyon carving. If you've installed sway bars on your car, then you absolutely know what you're doing. Nice job. But some people like to detach their sway bar end links when they're off-roading, because then each wheel can move more freely. If you're rock crawling without your sway bar connected, then your car can have amazing travel. I wouldn't suggest attaching your sway bar end links unless you're actually going off-roading. That much body roll would look ridiculous on the street. If you run no sway bars off-roading, that tells me that your car can go almost anywhere.
Wheel spacers.
Wheel spacers are more of a fitment thing than suspension, but I still think they're worth mentioning. People use wheel spacers when they want their wheels to poke out a bit more, but they don't want to spend money on a new set of wide wheels. Wheel spacers are a bit sketchy, but as long as you get hub-centric ones with a little lip on the bore, then you're good. If you run wheel spacers, you either have perfect fitment or you're a little bit poor. Broken suspension. It's not necessarily something you intentionally run, but you will know if you see someone who's driving a car with broken suspension. If their shocks are blown, they're always bouncing around and the car is handling pretty poorly. Or if your car makes a bunch of clunking noises over bumps and turns, it could be the ball joints, control arms, or tie rods, basically anything down there. It's pretty easy to tell when your suspension isn't working well. Regardless of what your suspension setup is, if it's broken, you're most likely not very well off financially, or maybe you're just weird or just a procrastinator. Suspension is one of the most important aspects of your car, so you should always make sure everything is functioning correctly. Squatted truck. Squatting a truck is like the armoire of closeted. The closeted of closeted. A whole wardrobe of closeted. Not only does it look really strange, but how the fuck do you see? Like your truck is literally 45 degrees towards the sky, and you're not even hauling shit. I don't consider squatting a truck a suspension setup. I feel like it's just a weird lifestyle. I don't know. All that angle just to drive to Cabela's and back, I don't see the point. If your truck is squatted, you're very closeted, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. And you do not have squatter's rights. You gotta get rid of that shit. Electromagnetic. Electromagnetic suspension is very far from common. I just think it's interesting, so I want to talk about it. In 2004, Bose released a prototype of the Lexus LS400 with electromagnetic suspension. Yes, Bose, like the headphones, dabbles in suspension. This suspension was super smooth, unbelievably smooth, but the drawback was the price and weight, so it never really made it into production. Eventually, they used the tech to make semi-truck seat suspension though, so that's pretty awesome. If you have electromagnetic suspension, that tells me that you're lying. Or maybe you're a trucker, I don't know.
This is what your car exhaust says about you.
So as long as you're not strange, your car probably has an exhaust. Everybody's exhaust is a little bit different, and it's one of the first things you modify when you're modding your car, because it changes the whole experience of driving the car. So now I want to talk about what your exhaust says about you. To the people that just have a stock exhaust, that lets me know that you're not very into cars. You might drive a Kia Soul and just go to work and back. Another reason your car's exhaust might be stock is if the car has a louder exhaust from the factory, like the Mercedes C63. You either have a very cool car or you're a bit boring. Next up, we have the straight pipe. If your car has a straight pipe, that lets me know that you didn't quite get enough attention as a child. You probably forgot to take your medication when you made the decision to give your poor car a f***ing straight pipe. You love enjoying your city's local street takeover on Friday nights, just to release some pent-up anger. Your car is most likely under $5,000 and is probably powered by a VQ engine. Your credit score might be somewhere around 13. You're probably talking to the dudes with custom exhaust talking about,
You need to release the beautiful symphony that your engine produces and cut that shit off, twin.
I don't really with straight pipes if you haven't caught that already. Next up, we have the burble tune or flame tune. I know burble tunes and flame tunes don't actually have anything to do with your exhaust system itself, but I think touching on this is still very relevant. Starting off with the burble tune. Burbles are not bad. There's a difference between your car having natural burbles on deceleration and actually scaring people. I think having a burble tune tells me that you're a younger driver and drive a newer BMW. You don't have many friends, so you decided to push people further away from you by making your car sound like it's braking while you're driving. As far as flame tunes, I mostly think they're weird, and you're probably weird for having one. But if your car happens to spit a flame with two-step or something, or just spits a flame somehow, then it's extremely cool, and you're extremely cool. If you pay someone to tune your car just to waste gas by burning it and ruining your exhaust, then I think you're a weird attention seeker. But don't even get me started on spark plugs in the exhaust. Next up, we have the muffler delete. If you're running a muffler delete on your car, you definitely care more about your car than someone with a straight pipe. I can respect it. It's definitely one of the cheapest exhaust modifications that you can do besides just cutting the entire thing off, but I think a muffler delete might just be a car got Canon event, but I would definitely suggest upgrading eventually. Okay, next up we have the axle back. An axle back exhaust is exactly what it sounds like. It's just taking care of everything behind your rear axles, so most likely just the mufflers. If you're running an axle back exhaust, you have more taste than someone who did a muffler delete. You like to hear a little more noise in the stock exhaust, but you don't want to be obnoxious. You might be a bit older, but you're still a chiller.
The resonator delete.
I personally believe resonator deletes are for the village idiots. Your resonator helps keep drone out, and I can't think of any reason that you'd want your car to drone. Drone is the sound that your car makes at a certain RPM, and you will just be hearing it constantly if you don't have a resonator. If you'd like a higher flowing resonator just to build some power, just buy a vibrant ultra quiet resonator or some other sport resonator. No need to go deaf hearing the bad sounds coming from your car. Now I want to talk about the catback system. This is probably one of the first actually good ones. Someone who has a catback exhaust has a lot of respect for their car. They might not really know how to use a welder, so they just buy the kit that they can put together themselves. You can usually buy these exhaust systems for a reasonable price online and just bolt it on. These exhaust systems can give the car a great tone. They usually replace the stock muffler and resonator with a sportier muffler and resonator. When I say sportier, I just mean smaller and higher flowing. They just allow for some more volume to come from the engine without ruining the driving experience. And your car will probably stay legal. Next up, we have headers. If your car has catless headers, it means you're pretty far into the build, and you most likely don't live in California. Catless headers give a pretty solid bump in horsepower. They remove the primary cats, which allows the exhaust to escape the engine much faster than before. Unfortunately, headers can make your car sound quite different, for better or for worse. When I put headers on my BMW, I was very happy with the power gain, but I didn't like the sound as much as the stock headers. If you put headers on your car, you're cool, but also be careful because it can be illegal. Next up, we have the dual exhaust. Dual exhaust systems are 100% badass, and they can actually help with your car's performance if you're running an X pipe or an H pipe. These exhaust setups are common for sports cars or cars with a V8 engine. If this is your exhaust setup, you probably have a cool car. But wait, some people have fake dual exhausts. Just having two exhaust tips on the back of your car does not mean you have a dual exhaust. A true dual exhaust goes from the headers all the way to the muffler separately, while a fake dual exhaust, like on the Dodge Charger V6, just a regular single exhaust that splits into two at the end. If you have a dual exhaust, you're probably chill and have an awesome car. If not, time to hand over the pinks to another naive driver, then upgrade to something legit. Single exit big bore. If you have a big single exit exhaust, you're probably an anime watcher who also likes cars. I'm always seeing these setups on the JDM cars like the Toyota Supra, the Honda Civic, 240SX, and basically all the Japanese cars. Having a big single exit exhaust either mean you have a super cool Japanese car or you just slapped a fart can on regular traffic. So it's hard to conclude what this setup says about you. You're either in high school and just want a loud car, or you have a refined taste in a sweet sounding car. Now I have to talk about the hood exit exhaust. Having a hood exit on your car might actually be one of the coolest things ever. Okay, obviously this is probably the most bold mod you could do to your car ever, but they look super cool, especially if you have a diesel car. I would recommend this mod to about 1% of the population, but to those who did it, you're probably badass and live in the middle of absolutely nowhere. The valved exhaust. So a valved exhaust is pretty much the perfect exhaust system you could possibly have, but it means you can change your car from quiet to loud whenever you want. Having a valved exhaust probably means your parents bought your car for you, because having an exhaust like this is really only common on newer sports cars. So unless you install the valves yourself, you're either rich or spoiled, but you also have a sweet exhaust setup, so that's nice. Building or paying someone to build a custom exhaust for your car is the best of the best ways to make noise come out of your car. The reason that this is the best option is because you can choose the highest quality parts to put in your car, and you can decide exactly what you want your exhaust to look like and sound like. You can add an H pipe for torque, you could add an X pipe for horsepower, and you can add a drone pipe to reduce the bad sounds that come out of your car. If your car has a high quality custom exhaust, you're probably the coolest person ever, and you also have a solid chunk of money. Or debt. Either way, you truly care about your car and want the performance and sound benefits from a custom exhaust. So you're the coolest person on this list by far.
New cars that piss me off.
Evolution is generally a good thing, right? Look how we went from inventing the wheel to beautiful things like galaxy gas. It's awesome. With all these amazing innovations, tell me why cars are evolving in an annoying and crappy way. It seems like every new car that is released pisses me off just a little bit more than the last one. Don't get me wrong, I think all the new safety features are great, and they definitely definitely save more lives, blah, blah, blah. But where's the fun in that? There are a lot of things car companies are changing that really don't need to be changed. Lane assist. What the f is this lane assist junk about? Do the car companies think I can't drive or something? Lane assist actually pisses me off so much. It's like having a backseat driver, but instead of your broke ass friend, it's the car. If companies are going to lower the standards of driving so much that you're not expected to be able to stay in your lane, then drunk driving should become legal. I think 90% of drunk drivers would probably be better than lane assist users. I think lane assist and auto brakes and all that stuff is kind of dangerous. People are more comfortable looking at their phones and not focusing on driving because they have all these false senses of safety with new cars. Back when I had my 5-speed Civic, I was so locked in. It was such a raw car to drive and it was so loud on the inside that I couldn't possibly focus on anything except the road. Isn't that safer, or am I just completely wrong? Let me know. Another thing I won't get over with these cars is how they look. It's like car manufacturers took all the soul out of designing cars and now they all look like the same pieces of shit. It pisses me off. Old cars used to be unique and have a lot of personality. Even if they didn't look nice, they still had wabi-sabi and weren't like the modern cookie cutter design. I don't think I'm blinded by nostalgia or anything. I think new cars really do objectively look worse than old ones. You know what else is consistently shit about new cars? LED headlights. LED headlights piss me off. Sure, it's nice to drive with LED headlights, but being on the receiving end of them is hell. When an oncoming car has LED headlights, I feel more blind than prime Helen Keller. I have to focus on the white road lines and pray they don't disappear, or else I'll end up in a freaking ditch. I mean, if someone was crossing the road and I was being blinded by LED headlights, I would for sure hit them without realizing. And if you think it couldn't get any worse, sometimes in those new cars with all the screens, you'll be blinded at night anyway. I mean, the brightness on those screens is insane. Most of the time you can change the brightness with a button somewhere, but sometimes the worst ones have the brightness settings in the software, so you have to search around in all the shitty ass menus to find it. I'm pissed. You know what else makes it even worse? Staring at all that damn plastic. I swear there's more plastic in modern cars than there are liberals in Seattle. These car companies add that weird ass bumpy texture to all of it. I don't get it. Why do they think it's appealing? It looks cheap to me. I'm not even kidding though. The door cards are plastic, the dash, the pedals, even the shifters are covered with plastic. It's not just the interior either. In any modern car, the whole engine bay will be coated in plastic covers that do close to nothing. The underbodies are also coated in plastic guards, which probably does help a little bit, but it's still just a dumb load of useless plastic. I'm pretty sure Tesla made like the whole rear end of the Cybertruck plastic or something too, which is fucking bananas. You know what else is bananas? Modern cars that shut off at stoplights. I swear they added this feature just for rage bait. You pull up to a stoplight or a stop sign, the car just dies and it's dead. And now it just looks like you've stalled or don't know how to drive the car. I guess this feature is supposed to save the planet or whatever, but if we wanted to save the planet, we should just start freezing the oceans or something. I feel like the only benefit to this feature is it could maybe save you like a tiny bit of fuel over time, but in my opinion, it's not enough fuel for me to give a shit. It's just really annoying instead. Speaking of modern car features that piss me off, car sensors piss me off. I know that sounds like a weird one, but the amount of sensors that are in modern cars just boggles my mind. I mean, they have sensors that detect water on your windshield, like I can't see that shit. And don't get me started on the seatbelt sensor. Why are they putting that in there? It's obvious. I know I'm not buckled in, but the car just wants to remind me every 2 seconds.
If you have a Toyota, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Maybe it'd be reasonable if it was every minute, but no, they make it every 2 seconds. It's ridiculous. Half of the time when you get a code popping up, it's not even something wrong with the engine. It's just a sensor that's gone bad. The more sensors, the more problems. The sensors that piss me off the most have to be oil sensors, because once they add an oil sensor, they feel the need to remove
The dipstick.
And get this, most of the oil level sensors don't even work until you run the car for a while. What if you're bad at measuring oil, so you put a cup of oil into your car and you don't know how full the engine is? So you run it on a cup of oil for like 5 minutes to get an oil level reading, and then kaboom, engine has blown up because of a cup of oil. Something else these companies care about apparently is how high you can rev the car after you buy it brand new. Some of these modern cars have like a 3,000 RPM rev limiter where you can't rev it past 3K for like 500 miles, which I find ridiculous. You're saying I buy a brand new car and I have to drive it like a grandma for 500 miles until apparently it's magically safe, or at least until the warranty is up. I mean, people will build an engine, start it up and walk through the rev ranges for a couple good minutes in their garage, then take it straight to the dyno for a proper break-in. And the engine lasts for longer than the rest of the parts on the car. But the worst cars are the ones that that don't even let you rev the car in neutral. I mean, what the fuck, actually weird behavior. For some reason, the design of modern car interiors just gets more and more uncomfortable every single year. When I'm sitting in a new car, I feel naked and exposed. The seats are so bare and made out of like fake leather or some shitty fabric. It feels so foreign. But older cars had a welcoming, warm feel inside of them and really created a nice atmosphere. They're so kind and nice to you. But with the new cars, you hop in and the first thing that comes up on the screen is some bullshit about recording your driving behavior or something giving you warnings about not looking at the screen while you're driving. Some more bullshit. Why do new car companies think that eliminating manual options from their cars is making them more comfortable to drive? If anything, it's so much worse because half of the modern cars don't even know how to drive themselves. I swear 90% of these cars have gas pedals where they're super delayed. They'll wait on the ECU for so long until it actually gives you gas. Sometimes these cars just randomly accelerate super fast and are not predictable. The transmissions are always shifting shittily as well. It either won't shift or it shifts too early. It never gets it right. Not to mention the brake boosters in the new cars just seem super sensitive, and the slightest touch will bring the car to a dead stop. Like guys, I swear it's the car that makes me bad at driving. You know what's crazy about these new cars is how small their engines are getting. Now it's not all of them, but a lot of new cars that are coming out just keep getting smaller and smaller engines with a tiny little turbo to top it off. Don't get me wrong, I love small engines like the GR Corolla engine, the Honda K's and B's, but what sets these engines apart from the rest is that they have potential and they were made to get down and dirty. These new engines are just made to be efficient for fuel economy and the atmosphere. Where's the fun in that? In the 70s, we had 7-liter V8s that were turning out 200 horsepower. Not because that's all they could make, because that's all they were allowed to make. You could take those engines and make them like 600 horsepower, no problem. But the new little itty bitty baby ones are just not built with that kind of spirit. They can't take any more than the company gave them, which is just heartbreaking. And it shows you how much spirit these companies have lost. They've also lost the plot with regulation. Every new car is so damn quiet and lacks a nice exhaust note. All the companies just strangle the exhaust with cats and mufflers and shit. Even if it's not an electric car, you won't be able to hear it, and the CVT is going to make it feel like driving an electric car too. Even if someone steals the cats, the car is still going to sound like shit because it doesn't have the exhaust designed to sound nice when it's loud. And the CVT is just going to sound like a screaming animal or something anyway. Before you tell me about the planet, let me just toss a video of lithium mining on screen real quick. So these things that I don't like about new cars are annoying, but at the end of the day, you can just shrug them off. But I do have one chronic complaint. This part of modern cars has gone way too far. The price. Cars are just getting less and less affordable. The average price of a new car is around $50,000. This crap is not funny. In the early 2000s, a new car was around $38,000 adjusted for inflation, which is still a hell of a lot. But it just goes to show how crazy the car market is getting. With this trend, new cars are going to be out of reach for so many people. The whole point of a new car is to be innovative and come out with new cool features advancing the car world, but we're just going in the wrong direction. And I hope car manufacturers come to their senses. There are a couple cool cars coming out like the 2026 Nissan Z and the rumored 2026 Ford Mustang Raptor, but this should be every new car that's announced, not just two. That being said though, new cars just really piss me off.
What your car interior says about you.
Have you ever wondered what people think of you based off your car's interior? It's surprisingly telling of your personality. This is what your interior says about you. Rally. A real rally car, like a 2.5 RS or something, has a super cool and super uncomfortable interior. They usually have very tight bucket seats, harnesses, a gutted interior so that you hear every pedal on the road, and also a co-driver with a clipboard.
Medium left, medium left, medium left. Listen to me, call.
Although rally interiors are intimidating, they're also extremely safe. These cars can flip into trees and stuff, and you will come out completely unscathed. The coolest thing about rally cars and race cars, in my opinion, is the flocked dash. At least that's the coolest part about the interior. Flocked dashboards look awesome, and it's not hard to do it. It leaves a very clean looking dash, and I think it brings the whole interior together. Crusty. Your car smells like absolute shit. It has torn and stained seats. You can't clearly see through the windows because they're so dirty, and you prefer driving with no air circulation. You have the vents all the way off. Who does that? That's nasty. There's always a bunch of trash on the back seats, dishes on the dashboard, and like an apple core in the cup holder. The car most likely is an older one with tan or gray carpet interior. If your car looks or smells like this, you're crusty, bud. Blue collar. My blue collar boys out there have loose tools all over the floor. There's a half-eaten gas station breakfast on the dash, empty Zyn containers everywhere. You're a hard-working man, brother. Your steering wheel is most likely worn down because you don't have soft hands, brother. You spend the whole day underwater welding, so it's time to enjoy the interior of your Ford F-150 Ultra Premium Dually Man Sport on the way home. This thing has about $50,000 down and a monthly payment of $5,000 for life. You have some really nice leather seats, which are unfortunately stained to because you have to use the truck for work. You have a very nice sound system though. I don't know how else you'd survive that thing without some nice bass backing your country music, even though you live in the suburbs. Drift cars have very tacky and cheap interiors. Gutted door cards, heavy 5% tint, NRG bucket seats, hydraulic e-brakes, and probably a manual radiator fan switch. Your clapped S13 dash is cracked in 5 places, and you might have one working door speaker. All of this being said, I know you can get down on the track. These cars are not built for comfort whatsoever. They're built to comfortably drive sideways, which is an uncomfortable thing to do. If your interior is like this, you're probably wealthy but in a poor looking way. Drifting is not cheap. Dusty. You drive a bigger car, one that can be lived in. There's 2 types of dusty cars. One's for adventurers and one's just because you shed too much. If you have a dusty car because you're an adventurer, it means you probably have a golden retriever, you're not afraid of getting a bit dirty, and you drive something cool like a 4Runner. But the other kind, you don't love showering by any means, and your passengers prefer being in your car with the windows down. In some ways, this is worse than crusty. You might drive a 2010 Civic or something if your car looks like this. Edgar and friends have surprisingly clean interiors, cuh. There's a very potent cologne smell, but not unpleasant. These dudes always have a very nice G35 or S10 interior. Of course, we have to have the Starlight headliner, black leather seats, and a slightly tacky TikTok shop lighting kit. I know it's not fantastic, but it's clean for what you've got. Lower class. Lower class does not mean no class. You try your best with what you have. You probably have a clapped Camry or something. But as I said earlier, you play the cards you're dealt. While the passenger seat recliner does not work and the wing mirror is dangling off the hinge, you still manage to install some AutoZone seat covers and a little Trees air freshener. You have bubbling tint unfortunately, but at least it looks a bit badass. A drawback from lower class is that you don't have amazing soundproofing in the car, so there's a lot of road noise. Upper class. This interior is most likely a German car. Nice leather, seat warmers, modern navigation, and all of the small things you would want from a German car. You might be an engineer or some sort of doctor. You don't really like cars that much, but you like comfort. So you just got a very regular traffic seeming base model German car with all of the comfortable amenities that you might like, but nothing as crazy as the next one.
But before we get into the next one, the Gassy YouTube channel is trying to hit 100,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Please tell your friends so we can all get gassy.
Next up, we have pristine luxury. So this car has non-GMO grass-fed leather seats, lava rock heated steering wheel, naturally waterfall scented air ducts. This car has it all. Square cup holders for the Fiji water. A car with an interior like this tells me that you're some sort of CEO or weird billionaire. Very cool spending choice regardless. Lexus luxury goes under this section too. These Lexus LS400 builds have a crazy interior. The back seat windows have curtains. There's sometimes a chandelier, a bottle of whiskey with a couple of glasses, reflective tint all the way around. This is real luxury. Tasteful. I don't consider navigation in cars as a tasteful addition, because whatever the car company puts in the car, it will most likely be outdated within like 5 years. I think timeless interiors are what make a car tasteful. So I think whenever I get the chance, I will personally get a car without a f***ing iPad in the middle of it. I also don't love plastic wood trim or things like that. Enough of what I don't like. I really like darker interiors. It doesn't have to be black, but I think unless it's white, I prefer dark. I like dark brown. I think dark red is really cool. Black is always nice. I really like the older Porsche seats with those plaid cushions with the leather surrounding them. I also don't like chrome things unless it's actually metal. Then it's really cool. If you have a tasteful interior like this, you really know cars. You like driving them for the comfort, but also appreciate the simplicity of no digital bullshit all over the dash. Next up, we got the Rancher, brother. If you're a regular Cabela's enjoyer and live a little bit in the middle of nowhere, you probably took the seats seats out of your car and replace that shit with mechanical bowls. Your pedals are all worn out because your boot spurs started shredding them. You have about 20 DUIs because of how much whiskey rubbed leather is in this thing. You have a very nice sheep fur steering wheel cover, very clear fishbowl tint because you don't have anything to hide, deer antlers mounted on the tow mirrors, Cabela's is on speed dial on the navigation. There's also a freezer in the center console for some summer sausage. If you have a car like this, you are a very professional rancher and you know what you're doing, brother. Next, I want to give a quick shout out to my soccer moms out there. This Honda Odyssey is built for hauling kids. The iPad holders on the back of the headrests, goldfish all over the floor, a bunch of stickers littering all of the windows. Awesome. If you drive a car like this, then you're a very busy mom. You don't need any navigation system because you somehow know exactly where you're going all of the time. And don't worry about the seats at all. There's a bunch of holes in them from dogs biting them, kids biting them, you biting them. You might as well just let them go. This car has a very interesting smell as well, but it's kind of nostalgic and very comforting. And now we have to talk about the hippies. When you open the door to this awesome Volkswagen van, you will be blessed with a very strong skunky smell mixed with patchouli oil. To climb onto the front bench seat, you'll have to push the dream catchers to the side and step over the rolled up yoga mat. These seats are covered with a massive peace sign blanket. They're surprisingly comfortable though. Everything about this van is meant to be enjoyed, including the psilocybin mushrooms growing in the corner. This interior is very fitting for outdoor adventures and road trips. Having something like this tells me that you're a very chill dude and probably have long hair, and you love your tie-dye. Now we have to talk about the takeover interior. We've all seen street takeovers from the outside on Instagram Reels. The good, the bad, and the ugly. But not many people know about how the interior looks in takeover cars. Well, of course, it's the same as any other Hellcat or base model BMW, but they all share some similarities. The inside of these cars are hotboxed with tire smoke, littered with Hennessy bottles, and smells like shit. Because fun fact, the back seats are actually covered in human shit.
They can't hold in their own bowel movements because they have too much adrenaline rushing through their brains when they're spinning around. The G-force of a rollback actually makes the shit come out of them and fly into the back seat.
And all of their interiors look exactly like this. That's why people are always hanging out of the windows. Not because they're having fun, just because it smells like absolute ass.
Your car brand stereotypes, part 2.
Infiniti.
This is a strong one, fellas.
On paper, Infinitis are good cars. They're reliable-ish and cheap and perform pretty well, but I'm not gonna lie guys, if you're driving one of these, you're probably on your way to the mall in some pajama pants, rocking Edgar cut and looking for talky girls. No hate at all, this is just the Infiniti demographic. Something that sucks about Infinitis is that 95% of them are automatics. Driving an automatic isn't exactly a bad thing, but I find manuals to be a lot more enjoyable. Especially if the automatic transmission is so ass that you have to help it shift with the throttle pedal. The good thing about Infinitis is that they're not a bad base to build off of. Most of the time they have 6-cylinder engines with a pretty good chassis. You'll probably see some people shredding these at the track or local drift course, since they're really good cars for the price. Other than seeing them at the track, expect to spot a couple of these lonely Infinitis enjoying their local 4-way intersection in the middle of the night. A lot of people that buy Infinitis won't really do any mods other than stick some LED lights inside of them and maybe some questionable rims. Of course they have to have a 3-inch straight pipe from the header's back, but otherwise these things are stock. When I think Audi, I think fierce, competitive, classy, the pinnacle of German engineering.
Almost because BMW is better, of course.
One Audi that comes to mind is the Sport Quattro. It's a fucking beast that crushed the Group B competition. Or the Audi R8, a genius billionaire playboy philanthropist's favorite car, Tony Stark. And of course, the Audi RS6, a luxury car that can get down and dirty. Owning an Audi isn't about being flashy and showing off. They're about showing up, getting the job done, and destroying the competition while doing so. If you drive an Audi, you're a humble guy who knows his cars. You're classy, and you probably have a Richard Mille, and you maintain your car properly, doing everything to spec. Audis are great cars. They have power, balance, comfort, and they have fashion. But most importantly, and probably what they're most well known for, is their impeccable 5-cylinder engines. These things sound amazing. What sets Audi's 5-cylinder engines apart from others is the fact that they are built to be used and abused, where other 5-cylinder engines are built more to commute to work and back. Modern Audi 5-cylinder engines are built mostly out of iron rather than aluminum, which helps it take a way harder beating than those regular aluminum blocks that you'll find on most economy cars. Audi also designed their modern 5-cylinders to have huge main journals for smoother rotation and better lubrication, thick crank webs for added strength and rigidity, stronger rods to handle loads loads of boost and a deeper engine block skirt adding to the strength of the engine. I mean, these things can handle loads of boost and run like 700 horsepower on stock internals. Not to mention, those Audi cylinder walls are thicker than an Infiniti driver's passenger princess, which lets these engines run crazy numbers on pump gas. And I didn't even mention how good their all-wheel drive system is, but I think their record in rally speaks for itself. Anyway, Audi is really good at over-engineering stuff, which can lead to higher prices and more expensive maintenance costs, but Audi owners know it's definitely worth it, and they can probably afford it. Volkswagen. Honestly, when I think of Volkswagen, I think mom car or maybe like a cheap-ass front-wheel drive piece of shit. If you're driving a Volkswagen, you might be a broke high schooler who's crashed their car more times than they've skipped their homeroom class. Or maybe you're just a humble car enthusiast who low-key doesn't ask for much. You like to take your scenic drives along the back roads and kind of stay out of harm's way. But Volkswagen is a lot more than meets the eye. These dudes own Audi, Porsche, Lamborghini, Bentley, Bugatti, Skoda, Ducati, and some other weird European companies. So it's safe to say Volkswagen knows exactly what they're doing. And they have hella resources at their disposal to make a good car. Unfortunately, Volkswagen really only focuses on making economy cars, so they're mostly low-key boring. Other than the Beetle, of course. I mean, this is a classic. Who doesn't love a Beetle? And then you have the Golf GTI or R. These cars are pretty good other than the GTI being front-wheel drive. They're well balanced, they have short wheelbases, and are pretty practical and super moddable. I think these cars kind of get a bad rep because most of the demographic that owns them is kind of broccoli head TikTokers, but these cars really are not a joke. And even the newer ones have a manual option, which is super fun. Honestly, a practical, fun, compact car didn't really exist before the GTI. The GTI paved the roads for this category and it did it really well. That's why we see Civics, Corollas, Ford Focuses, so we have Volkswagen to thank for all that, kinda. I also think Volkswagen vans are pretty cool too. They have a nice vibe to them. But probably the most praised thing to come out of Volkswagen would be the inline 4 1.9 TDI. These things are absolutely... Inside the engines, there's a forged crank and huge bearings inside a cast iron block with low RPM, high compression. Just tuning these engines could get you up to 300 horsepower, not to mention their iconic sound. Volkswagen. Jeep. Guys, if you drive a Jeep, what are we doing? If you drive a Jeep, you definitely get Starbucks every morning and order a mocha spice pumpkin latte or some bullshit. And you only use the off-roading suspension to get over curbs at that same Starbucks. Jeeps aren't necessarily bad besides the death wobbles at 25 miles an hour. I'd say it's more of a community issue. Although the company itself has been messing up a bit too. Take something like the Rubicon for example. That thing costs more than a Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. Even a used Porsche Cayenne is cheaper than a Rubicon. And to be honest, the Porsche would probably last longer on a dirt road than the Jeep. Just one drop of water on a precious Jeep sensor will cost 8 bands to fix. There are, however, some very acceptable Jeeps. The XJs, CJs, TJs, maybe even some of the ZJs and WJs. Overall, if you know what you're doing when you're driving a Jeep and you have one of the good ones, you get a pass. The other Jeeps, just stick to collecting ducks. Mitsubishi is a hard one. There's so many good things about this brand and so many bad ones. If you're driving a Mitsubishi, you either have crazy ball knowledge and a love for cars, or you're a grandma looking to buy a cheap EV or economy car. At first, Mitsubishi was pumping out crazy cars, and it really seemed like they were going somewhere. But then they decided to become boring. This awesome company started making stupid, boring economy cars that were low-key terrible, and now they're making EVs. What happened? They used to be a golden company that could have gone big. They made bangers like the Lancer Evolution, which was a WRX killer, and it has crazy good all-wheel drive. It has a fucking active center diff, mechanical LSDs, torque biasing, all that good stuff. The engine was an inline 4, not some lame-ass boxer that could boost more than Yamaha. They're reliable engines too. They also made cars like the Galant VR4, which is low-key an underground sleeper. 4 doors, 4 cylinders, 4-wheel drive steering, 4-wheel drive. That thing was diabolical. And then they went and made some other cars like the Eclipse and the 3000 GT, which were cool but not quite as peak. Mitsubishi guys low-key know what they're doing, and they're humble about having such cool cars, except for the Instagram comments talking about,
My Evo won't get consumer turbo twin.
And then they don't actually even have a car. Ferrari. Guys, if you own a Ferrari, you're low-key too rich to even flex it. Of course, there will be Ferrari owners who take their cars to Cars and Coffee or something, but I find that a lot of people buy Ferrari for the brand rather than the car, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because most of the time, Ferrari owners are too rich to even care. Ferrari is high-key based though, because if you want to buy a Ferrari, you have to be lit and respected. It's not like you can just walk into a dealership and buy a Ferrari. You need to have background checks run on you, and you kind of need to be tight with the dealership. So really, owning a Ferrari is like being in an exclusive club. Ferrari guys, for the most part, are the chillest rich dudes. If you like Ferrari, but you're not quite in the financial situation to drop a bag on a red piece of metal, you're still cool because Ferrari fans are low-key based too. Ferrari has good teams and makes great cars, other than the Ferrari F1 team. They never win anything, and they always have the worst strategy calls, like sending a driver onto a wet-ass course on slick tires. But other than F1, they definitely dominate. They have a good run going in the World Endurance Championship right now with their crazy good Ferrari 499P hypercar, which sounds fucking amazing, by the way. And they have historically always done well in racing. Saturn. Who the hell is driving a Saturn, bro? Dead ass? If you're into cars and have a Saturn, please, bro, please get something new. Even if you have to take out a loan, just do it. The body panels of these cars are dead ass made of plastic. I'm not even kidding. This brand makes actual Lego cars. If you're driving one of these, you might be off some shit and you definitely have hit multiple pedestrians. Saturn was born when GM created it as a new company to compete with reliable, cheap Japanese imports. All hate aside, they're super reliable, super cheap, and super durable. GM actually had to take funding away from Saturn since they were outperforming GM cars at the time. Even though they're super cheap and reliable, they still suck. If you drive a Saturn, bro, please just sell it. Chrysler drivers, you guys have aura, but not the good looking aura. More of like a trained assassin, overqualified old man type of aura. If you're driving a Chrysler, you're low-key just Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad. And you're probably doing quick jobs for cash and low-key might be making bank. I can't lie though, if you're rocking a car like a blacked out Chrysler 300 with some sick mods, you're kind of cooking. Your car taste is unique but based. You're swagging out with your Rolex, sipping on Henny while you're blasting down the road on your 6.4 liter V8, rocking out to that one Despicable Me song. You love the comfort of your car and it still makes nice power. I mean, this company has been on the verge of bankruptcy multiple times and they were like,
Let's put a 500 horsepower engine in a grocery getter.
and then all of a sudden it's a cool brand again.
Your car brand stereotypes, part 3.
Dodge Ram. Dodge drivers and Ram drivers are two very different types of people. On one side, you've got Brokeback Mountain Cowboys, and on the other, you have NLE Choppa. Dodge is putting way too much power in the wrong hands. They make 700 horsepower land boats that only go in a straight line and turn about as sharp as a galleon in the 16th century. Although I will say the Viper is a proper track car. It's got good handling, but it doesn't really matter how well it handles because this car is basically a Miata with a V10 in it. These cars can run a quarter mile in almost 10 seconds, but you're going to be 10 feet under before you get there. These cars actually are death traps, to be honest. Ram trucks are also just 16th century galleons, but in truck form. If you're driving one of these trucks, you just wanted a truck, and then you convinced yourself that you needed a sporty Dodge engine along with it. You wanted a big Hemi, and you wanted a loud exhaust, and you wanted more power. You're pretty much just looking for a muscle car that'll do the maximum amount of damage to another car when you crash into it. Maybe that's where they get the name from though. GMC. There are two types of GMC owners. The first is the broccoli head TikTok kid. These dudes have their GMCs whited out with RGB underglow and a tasteful 45-degree squat. You can find these creatures by following its social media or by simply going to a gas station past 7 p.m. I don't know how these guys do it, but their chrome is simply shinier. I swear these dudes have rims shinier than Dwayne Johnson's forehead. Okay, now for the other GMC owners on the other side of the spectrum. The foreman who sits in his air-conditioned GMC cab all day watching TikTok and telling you did your job wrong. And of course, not telling you how to do it right. GMC is like the Lincoln Cadillac of trucks. These things were originally sold to contractors, businesses, and the government. GMC wasn't making some consumer-grade products. This shit was like military grade. It's a bummer that GMC owners never used their trucks correctly. correctly because they're well built. These trucks have massive V8s, turning out loads of torque and power, super sturdy drivetrains that can definitely take a massive beating, as well as durable axles and frames. These trucks were built to last. So if you own one of these, you either own a company or your dad owns a company. Porsche. I feel like the modern day Porsche drivers are mostly influencers and hardcore Porsche fans. They will either be riding the wave or will sell their soul to represent Porsche as a brand and glaze them as much as possible, of course. I'm not saying I would mind cruising around in a Porsche, but these drivers will flip their shit the second you pronounce Porsche wrong, talking about it's Porsche. But set aside the stereotypes, Porsche makes really nice cars. As a brand, they're more focused on fully optimizing every part and not just making crazy power. Although I do feel like Porsche has been overhyped recently. The 992 GT3 RS has almost turned into the new Supra or R34, getting posted on like every TikTok edit. It's an incredibly good car, but not the craziest car to ever exist. Maybe it could low-key use a little less hype. That being said, Porsche definitely makes track-ready cars. They're super overbuilt, they have amazing handling and traction through corners because of the high caster track-built geometry and a mid-engine layout. Also, the engines are super reliable. Shit, maybe they do deserve the hype and I'm just an asshole, I don't know. If you drive a Porsche, you're most likely really cool. Lincoln. Who the hell drives a Lincoln? The only person who I can think of that I've seen anywhere near a Lincoln is the old guy from Tulsa King. So if you drive a Lincoln, consider yourself an unk. These cars have lots of benefits, and they're mostly boring. The benefits are for the feeble non-car person. These cars are more like spaceships because they're really quiet, super smooth, and very comfy. Literally a street-legal couch. In 1922, Henry Ford bought Lincoln to beat Cadillac in the luxury car department. From 1939 to 2003, every president rode in a Lincoln. I mean, if it was comfy enough for a president, they're probably pretty nice. They also stuffed V12s into these Johns so they could get moving. Once Ford started modernizing, Lincolns got cheaper and lost their soul. If you're driving, or at least being driven in a Lincoln, you're definitely a CEO mafia boss. If not, you're just a dude who isn't interested in cars but needed that Lincoln comfort. Lada. If you're whipping around a Lada, your base is crap. If you've ever owned a Lada, you know how damn good they are. You have lots of class and show your car some love. Even if you do beat on it and drive it as hard as you can, Ladas were meant to be beaten, so it's like a hard love relationship. As a Lada driver, you took something cheap, unloved, and ugly and turned it into something loved and beautiful. Ladas are super reliable and fun. Their engines run off little to no oil. It doesn't matter what kind of gas you put in these things because they're happy with whatever. Ladas are a perfect blueprint for building a cool car. They're great rally cars and do pretty well off-roading due to their rear solid axle and trailing arms design. These cars can also be fixed with pretty much just a hammer, so if you break down on a trail, it'd be super easy to get things running again. Luckily, with a Lada, you don't need any gay specialty tools from the manufacturer, you just need a creative imagination. Cadillac. Cadillacs low-key have aura, guys. A murdered out Blackwing that's lowered kind of goes crazy. This shit pulls too. These cars have supercharged V8s and come with a manual transmission. This company is a cornerstone of America. Its presence is huge, and they used to make crazy aircraft engines that would be fitted into fighter planes, bombers, and all sorts of military equipment. Their engineering became so good, these engines could run for hours, even days, in freezing conditions, full throttle, and with zero failure. This is why Cadillac has been one of the most dominant teams in endurance racing. While other teams are fooling around with small turbocharged engines, Cadillac brings in their big American V8s that don't fucking break. Cadillac did have a time where they were fumbling the bag though. They started making cheaper cars with less power and shitty interiors, and they even stooped as low as front-wheel drive. Luckily, they realized their mistakes and brought it back with the V-Series, which had cars like the Blackwing. This company basically makes cars with Lincoln's comfort and Dodge's power. Cadillac is extremely based. Jaguar. I wonder if Jaguar became a car brand because not enough old people were driving cars. You have to be collecting Social Security to be able to get a Jaguar. But this is low-key a sleeper brand. These cars have great personalities. They're not reliable, they're expensive, and they always have problems. But I'm not saying Jaguar can't build a car. They made disc brakes viable and popular. They're one of the first racing teams to use aerodynamic bodywork and to use lightweight alloys in their car's chassis. Not to mention they won Le Mans 5 times, but that was back in the 50s, and a lot has changed since then. Their old cars are cool and pretty unique, but I don't know why you would buy their modern cars over any other brand. Jags are always having issues and really have no benefits to them unless you're a die-hard Jaguar Jaguar fan. The most reasonable explanation to owning a Jaguar is to have it as a centerpiece in your mansion, because not many people are going to waste their money on a Jaguar.
Range Rover.
If you own a Range Rover, you're insanely British, and that's about all I have to say about them. Okay, no, but seriously, Range Rovers are solid cars. They're great at off-roading from the factory. They come with a bunch of nice little rich-ass features like locking differentials, adjustable air suspension, damn terrain response systems. It changes your throttle response, enhances your traction control. It also selects your gears differently if it's an automatic for the best traction.
This shit also changes differentials and suspension to be most optimal.
Anyway, it's advanced, super over-engineered, and British as crap. With all this high-tech junk, you can expect a pretty expensive repair bill when something breaks. And yes, things will definitely break, unfortunately. Overall, these cars are incredibly lavish, luxurious, and British.
Aston Martin.
Green. The most prominent part of this car brand is the iconic green they use. This color literally looks so fine, holy moly. If you bought a car from this brand somehow, you're the kind of guy to sip whiskey and wear a tailored suit everywhere. Even in the car. You're gonna find these cars packing V8s, V12s, and this shit's simply majestic. This company doesn't play either. They're front engine, rear wheel drive cars. Raw. Not some bullshit mid-engine trying to grip max. They're sharp, they handle well, but only if you got that dog in you. People who drive these cars are way too tough. Dudes will drive their Aston wherever they go, and they will get the most out of their car instead of leaving it to rot in a garage. But all the fun must end somewhere, of course. And when it comes to reliability, Aston Martin is not exactly winning medals.